tonight, right into it. Shoulders back and go get it. Well, hello and welcome to this Tuesday's Movie News. I am Jonathan C. Walsh, pushing the show later and later every time I do a solo discussion show. It gets later every night, every week. But I'm here to speak about movie news. That's what we do here. I'm here to speak about the world of Hollywood and beyond. And I'm here to start the proceedings not with the headline about SS Rajamouli, Triple R director, Bahubali director, potentially casting his net further afield. Though I'm going to start with the sad news. I'm going to press that macro so we don't get the intro again. I'm going to start with the sad news of Star Trek trailblazer Nichols dying, aged 89. Why am I starting with this depressive news? Well, listen man, I grew up watching Star Trek with my grandfather, and this larger-than-life character amongst a cast of larger-than-life actors, the likes of William Shatner, Forrester Kelly, Leonard Nimoy, the full shebang. She was a real pivotal figure back in the 1960s, a real trailblazer, as they do say there, and someone who could show effectively to young black women, but not just young black women, but women in general, that there was such a thing as a powerful female in film and in TV, way before the likes of Brie Larson were doing a thing. 60 years before, 50 years before Brie Larson was doing her shtick. So yeah, I just want to start the show by playing homage to the late great Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura of Star Trek fame. 89, good innings for anybody, can't have any complaints. Had a great life, an illustrious life, and rest in peace, Nichelle. Thought I'd start with that, but I'm going to come back to this. SS Rajamouli would love to make a Prince of Persia movie. Now I'm playing with words there, because he has said those words, but he's not said those words quite in that context. He says he would have liked to have made a Prince of Persia movie, but then Hollywood did it. But of course Hollywood did it really badly. Michael Fassbender was in that movie, big fan of Michael, but that movie just was a disaster of a movie. It was a disaster, period. And it didn't work. And of course in Hollywood, that's what, nearly 10 years now since that one came out. Maybe not that long actually, but it's been a while. That was Fassbender, wasn't it? I may be thinking about Assassin's Creed, and I may be doing Michael a disservice there, but that was shit as well. I can't recall who was in it, but there was a Prince of Persia movie and it wasn't very good. And of course, I think it was about 10 years ago, roughly in that realm. That's an eternity for Hollywood. With remakes happening quicker than that, we could see a remake of Prince of Persia. It's perfectly within the realms of possibilities that Mr. Rajamouli could be offered the gig, and he makes the jump over to Hollywood and makes a Hollywood movie. I'd personally love to see it, but we'll get into that in detail. That's the headline of the show. Welcome in, Pav. Think I'm on time today. Yeah, I'm not. I'm well late. I don't know what's happened. Just taking the piss, really, in terms of getting a show put together. Taking my time. It's nearly 12 AM here. This is going to be an expedited show on a number of levels. But I've got some things to discuss, and I'm going to get my teeth around them and discuss them. It is sad, but look, 89 is a good age for anybody. If I get to 89, I will die a happy man. Very happy indeed. Probably in my sleep, with my marbles firmly gone. But Ubisoft have abandoned Prince of Persia. I think it was with Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah, the Prince of Persia movie. They have abandoned it, and that's a shame. Listen, I'll bring the article up just now. Great minds think alike. Me and SS share a similar passion. I sincerely loved, and that's me just highlighting the headline to put right in for the show. Don't even use brain power, don't even think about an interesting individual headline of your own. Just copy and paste it verbatim straight off a Collider. But this was actually Stephen that sent me this over. He says this is an interesting article headline you might be interested in discussing. I've made it the title of the actual show because I'm interested in discussing it. Basically, he was having a conversation with self-described maximalist directors Joe and Anthony Russo of Avengers fame. They were having a discussion about film, Netflix maybe being a conduit for film in different regions, reaching the eyeballs of us Westerners. And yeah, he got into the subject of his desire to adapt things he wished he'd done, in a sense. And as you can see, I'm going to get down to it here. He spoke about a number of Telugu classics. He'd watched Ben-Hur 1,000 times. I have watched Ben-Hur a lot as well. That's another movie me and my grandfather used to consume on a regular basis. The great Charlton Heston. So right off the bat, I love S.S. Rajamouli as a director, having watched Bahubali 1 and 2, and having watched Triple R more recently. And now I'm beginning to find more and more little things that I enjoy of SS, things that I also enjoy. Ben-Hur. But not just Ben-Hur, Prince of Persia. I grew up in the 1990s playing Prince of Persia. It was side-scrolling. Then there was a great Sands of Time game from about 15 years ago that I absolutely adored as well. It really came, I think, before Assassin's Creed. It was this sort of fluid, jumping off a wall experience. It had violence in there. It was fast-packed. It was fast-paced, I should say. Exhilarating. And playing those games back in the day, I always thought this is a franchise that is tailor-made for making the jump to big movies. We'd had Tomb Raider round about that period, I'm sure, with Angelina Jolie. And I just felt it was ripe, it was perfect. It was kind of like Aladdin meets a more serious, visceral, darker story. And Aladdin had great success in the 90s in animated form. So I'm really surprised, really, first and foremost, that movie didn't have more success. I think Gyllenhaal's came out and spoke. If it was Gyllenhaal, and you're right, Pav, about how it was never quite right for him. It wasn't the right fit. He shouldn't have done it. Well, for me, this man Rajamouli is the perfect fit for Prince of Persia. And look, no matter what setting it happens, if it happens, I would love to see it happen. Is he really speaking English? I'm speaking Scots, which is a variant of English. And I'm doing my best to slow it down. A lot of people struggle. It's the vowels, it's the enunciation of certain words. It's slightly different to us our US friends, and perhaps the English down south, the way they speak. And although some of those English folk are even more unintelligible than we are. I'm thinking of the West Country and of Scousland and of Bristol. Listen to some of them speaking, you'll have even more issues than you do listening to me. Everyone in India is sleeping this time. It's 4 AM in India. Listen, my night's just getting started at that time. I'm getting later and later. I need to get a grip. I need to start getting to my bed earlier. But 4 AM, I'm still up at that time here. So, and it tells, you can see my face. It's taking its toll. Yeah, Prince of Persia indeed came out first. I absolutely loved the Prince of Persia trilogy, Sands of Time, The Two Thrones and Warrior Within. I don't know if I've played the other two now that you mention it, but I certainly love Sands of Time. And I bought the little remastered side-scrolling one for Xbox back in the day, and I'm sure I played a Prince of Persia game on the Amiga in the mid-90s. Absolutely loved the game. It was always pioneering, really, what they were doing with the sort of the story, the concept, side-scrolling nature. Just an interesting face as well. It was different to what I was used to back then. I was used to Mario and things like that, and you had this mysterious Arabian figure doing his thing. This is what Rajamouli had to say of it. One of the films is Bairangi Bajan. I've probably said that terrible. Bayan. Is that brother? Something brother? Because I know Bai means brother. I so wish that I could have directed it. I could have blocked the story for myself, but didn't. I regret that I didn't. I used to play a game called Prince of Persia. I was really addicted to that game 15 years back. I really thought it would be very nice to write a story about that character and make it into a movie. Later, Disney made it. Well, they did make it, and it didn't do well, as you can see here. Jake Gyllenhaal, absolutely right, Pav. Gemma Arterton, Ben Kingsley, Mike Newell directed it. It made $300 million off of a reported budget of $200 million. That movie was a disaster. So that's, pardon the pun, that's kept. That's going to be left in the sands of time. Sands of Time will forget that movie. And what better way to cleanse the palate than to have someone of Rajamouli's stature come in and give us a reboot. Now, look, I don't care whether he makes it in the Indian subcontinent for Indian audiences primarily, and us Westerners just get to consume it on Netflix. That'd probably be more authentic, really. You'd probably be able to do a more authentic story, something he's more comfortable with himself, because the man has worked primarily in India. And you let him do what he wants to do, really. If they are going to explore this and it's maybe a Western studio, I see no reason why they don't cast from India. Because this guy just knows how to pick the perfect leads. We've seen this with Bahubali, Rana Dagabati and Prabhas. And we've seen it with RRR, with NTR Jr. and Ram Charan. So I'd be perfectly comfortable with perhaps a Hollywood studio, be it Disney if they own the rights, giving him free reign to make this movie and just making it with an Indian cast. I don't give a shit how they do it. Likewise, if he wants to come over and make it in a Western sphere, I'd be comfortable with this guy making a movie in a Western sphere. And I think with the success of RRR, there will be a host of studios over here very, very keenly interested in giving this guy movies for Western audience. Whether that's something Indian audiences would want to see is another thing. They probably have him very close to their hearts and would be unwilling to maybe let him go off and do Western pursuits, because he's making just phenomenal movies, man, that are pan-Indian in their scope. So I don't know if that'd be something that would create conflict, whether his fan base would be happy for him to go off and make a more Western movie, maybe a Prince of Persia movie, maybe something else. I'd be intrigued to hear that from the Indian hardcore Rajamouli fan base, whether they would be intrigued to see him try his luck in a Western sphere with a Western movie. Give this guy $300 million, man, $200 million. He will make magic happen. One thing that's abundantly clear to me with Rajamouli is from Bahubali and RRR, the incredible slow-mo stuff, 240 frames per second shots, the visuals as a whole, the story's always gripping. There's always some emotional human linchpin within the story, within the madness, within the flying bikes, within all of the huge, larger-than-life action. There's always something that grips you and anchors you while all this is happening. And I just don't see how he couldn't make the jump over to Western cinema. If you give him that budget, he would make it work. It would be a success. This guy's a better director than 90% of the directors over here. He's already in very esteemed company for me. And you see that, man. The Russos love him. All of these Western directors love the man's work. Scott Derrickson, off the top of my head, Edgar Wright, I think's watched it. There is people raving about RRR who probably didn't even know Rajamouli existed, sadly, through sheer ignorance. Probably didn't know half of the great Indian movies that existed before RRR. This guy's opened up a gateway, in a sense, and I hope that he steps into it and makes this movie. I'd love to see it. Sorry, Pav, I've been neglecting your comments. There was a nice fun fact: the side-scroller remaster was developed by Ubisoft India. There you go, man. I'm already keenly aware of the brilliance of Indian CG artists and stuff like that. As I said, good friends with a chap from Hyderabad, and he always knew his stuff when it came to programming and things like that. The guy was on the ball, and I presume remains on the ball. I've not seen him in a number of years. He's currently in Abu Dhabi, the lucky bastard. So I know how good they are at that, man, so it doesn't surprise me that they've made that. There was also an Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender. It was horrible. Yes, terrible movie. Absolutely horrible. Probably worse than Prince of Persia's Hollywood flick. I think an Assassin's Creed movie based on ancient Indian roots and culture will be a great idea. Again, listen, obviously it explores ancient history, doesn't it? Assassin's Creed, it explores it through this sort of, I mean, I can't remember the exact concept, but it's basically time travel through memories, ancestral stuff. And look, there's such a lush and diverse Indian history in there, in terms of culture and all manners of other thing going on that you could explore. And look, I wouldn't begin to know where to start with that. You've got the mythology, the sort of Hindu stuff. We've seen this with Brahmastra. My ignorance was revealed. Thank you very much, pal, for the donation, I'm going to call it. I actually haven't got a clue what these things are, because we don't get a lot of them, and we appreciate everyone that comes in. So thank you very much, my friend, for sending that in. It's not necessary, but we appreciate it nonetheless. But yeah, man, you're right. Assassin's Creed, I think that's another thing you could explore. I know in the video games they've explored Valhalla, Vikings, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. These places are no greater in terms of their history than India. India is incredible, and look, as someone who likes a bit of alternate history, a lot of talk that there was a very, very civilised, lost race of humans, potentially maybe something else, that maybe let a nuclear bomb off in the Indian subcontinent, and there's little particles or something going on there, little shards of, I don't even know, man, I don't know physics well enough, but I watch a guy called Jimmy Corsetti, and he often speaks about it. There was a cataclysmic event, be it man-made or otherwise, and apparently quite the civilization. So you can explore it, man. There's so much potential there. That's what I'm saying with these video games. They haven't scraped the surface in terms of adaptations. Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed, I don't really care how they make it happen, but we spoke about it after Triple R. I want to see SS Rajamouli making a movie for a big Western studio, because I think the guy's phenomenally talented. Not seen a bad movie from him yet, and I just appreciate visuals, man. I'm a visuals guy when it comes to movies, and this guy is the pinnacle. I think worldwide, man, honestly, I think he's on a par with the absolute best. With his attention to detail, his CGI, his slow-mo stuff, I just don't think the guy's paralleled. But look, man, I'm going to move on. Indian Rupees, thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate it tremendously. I'm going to move on to this, because I'm going to expedite it. We've got realistically, I'm going to stick around for about another 20 minutes, and then I'm going to bugger off, because it's getting late, and there's stuff still to be done for me. I've got to get my dog out, and I've got to start editing videos as well. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, Bullet Train, another thing I'm really excited about. Bullet Train, David Leitch, I believe, Brad Pitt, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry may be in there as well. A big movie that's coming out in maybe a week or so, I want to say. In the early reviews, the lucky few who have been able to go in and watch this movie have gave their initial thoughts on it, and apparently mixed thoughts, mixed reviews on this movie. And as you can see here, it's been written by Kitaro Asaki. Such an interesting concept, man. You speak about interesting concepts, adaptations. The concept of a bullet train and these ragtag group of people want to kill each other on said train is not something that's fresh by any means. We've seen it with Bong Joon-ho. I always screw his name up. Boon Jong-ho. I think it's Bong Joon-ho is how you say it. Snowpiercer, where you've got civilization living on in this huge train. They're warring, and as the movie advances, this select few make their way up the train. That's maybe not exactly what's happening in Bullet Train, but it's a similar concept, and it's something that really does lend itself well to a man like David Leitch, a man who was a stunt coordinator, a choreographer in a previous life, and who knows how to make insane one-shot action scenes. Anyone that's seen Atomic Blonde will attest to that. He worked on John Wick with Chad Stahelski. Guy's a phenomenal action director. You arm that with that cast I just mentioned, the concept, and it was a movie I was very excited about. So I'm slightly concerned when they say the reviews are mixed, and I'm going to read a couple just to get a sense of what that mixed means. And I'm going to start with Screen Rant. Bong Joon-ho, yeah, I always screw it up. It's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Gordon Joseph Levitt, John David Washington, David John Washington. I always mix them, I always screw it up. And in his case I just completely make up new words. Boon Jong-ho, it doesn't make sense. But here you go. Ben Kendrick, Screen Rant, has been speaking about Bullet Train. He had this to say: in many respects, the experience is style over substance at every turn. But to its credit, Bullet Train is so stylish that it's easy to ignore that any words coming out of Leitch's characters are designed to sound cool, even when feigning substantive rather than bothering to reveal something truly penetrating. Ladybug repeatedly ruminates on his efforts at self-betterment. Ladybug is the name of the Brad Pitt character, by the way. It's a strange name for a borderline 6 foot guy with swept-back blonde hair who's a bit of a handyman when it comes to violence. Ladybug, it's not the name I would have chose if I was him, but hey ho, I'm sure there's a rationale for it. He repeatedly ruminates self-betterment. Towards the end of the film, he's still operating out of a relatively inane understanding of fate and luck. Yet that doesn't really matter to Leach because the character has endured a non-stop barrage of over-the-top fights, inter-assassin banter and hilarious misfortunes. Look, ultimately that's all I want out of this movie. I don't need Oscar baiting direction or dialogue or story. All I need is a slick popcorn flick with great action and violence and just the classic witty back and forth action dialogue. That's all I care about. I expect more Guy Ritchie in here than Martin Scorsese. Ultimately for me, that's what I'm going into this movie for, and if that's what I get, I'm going to be a happy man. I want more of what I've seen in the actual trailer. Stupid music, shouldn't fit but does. Stylistic violence, that's what I want. A bug for the ladies, but not so strange, eh? Yeah, he is, to be fair, you're right, he is a bit of a bug for the ladies. He's been around our city as well as Brad. He likes Glasgow apparently. I don't know why, but he does. And apparently had a bit of a relationship here as well, so yeah. Brad's been doing that for 40 years now, 30 years now, however long he's been acting. He's older than you think. I think he's touching his mid-50s or something, or maybe early 50s, which shocked me when I discovered it. I didn't think he was that old. But when you think about it, he's always been there. He's always been there. I mean, the guy's been there since the 90s. And that's a good 20 plus years now, so shouldn't be a surprise. Maybe he can get into the 80s. I don't know. I'd naturally have to look into his career. But look, that doesn't matter. Get into the next one. I'm going to ditch Deadline. You know, we'll read Deadline. We'll read Deadline and probably Collider because it's shorter than Variety. And then I'll go off to Pastures New and speak about something else. Pete Hammond. These names are very beige names for film critics, incidentally. They usually have really absurd names, but they've just made them up. They've tried their hand at show business, tried to be a film star in their own right. Not quite made it, but the name stuck. And now they're a writer. But not today. These guys are beige as hell. Probably middle-aged white guys with side sheds. Pete Hammond had this to say: I am not at all sure what it looked like on the page, but on the screen it is a little more than a live-action cartoon. Well, that's what I want. Or should I say anime? Again, what do you want? What more would you possibly want for an hour 40-minute movie? Live-action anime with violence? Fucking right, I'm in there. Get in there, man. That's what I want. Leach stages one badass action scene after another. What were you expecting, Pete? This is David Leach, mate. It's an assassin try to take a break on a bullet train and other assassins come after him. Were you expecting something different, Pete? This is what I signed up for, mate, when I read about this movie. This is what I expected. This is what I want. The fuck? Leach stages one badass, yep. Pitt navigates it all with a measure of wit and snappy one-liners at every turn. I can't say that the thing ever goes off the rails because it never was on the rails to begin with. It all seems like an attempt to draw an undemanding international audience with a well-chosen in-game cast that is something for everyone who wants to submit to mindless adventure. I just don't get that review. That review is maybe about 100 words long, and it just goes round and roundabouts, circles, never really gets to the point. It's a strange piece of writing from Pete Hammond. What was he expecting from this movie? I can't understand it. My brain really does boggle at what I've just read there. I should have ditched Deadline. Shouldn't have went near them, incidentally. Look at this fucking guy's get up. Bucket hat, Ray-Bans, credible head of hair. This is him undercover. No chance. Absolutely no chance. We've got other reviews, incidentally. I'm not going to touch on these ones because I ain't get the time. And it's boring me just sitting reading a paragraph. Some people would say it's boring period, me just sitting. Beige as hell. Is my humour broken? It's beige. Oh, we'll get iPlayer coming up. Wow. Thank you so much. Who is it? Screen Rant for giving me a full-length advertisement. I appreciate it, and I can't even get it off. Fucking brilliant. What a website. Let's just refresh and hopefully the advert's gone. Fucking iPlayer. Who gives a shit about iPlayer? Bro, how are you? I'm doing fantastic, my friend. Late as hell here, so I'm trying to do this quickly, but I'm doing fantastic nonetheless. If you've come in regarding the SS Rajamouli headline, needless to say, he's expressed an interest in wanting to make a Prince of Persia movie. I don't know if you even know what that is, but it's a video game, and it's a very good video game, and he should make it. Hollywood should give him $200 million to go and make that fucking movie, because it deserves to be made. That's it in kind of shortened form, what I was speaking about. That'd probably make for better viewing, me just giving short one-liners that you can perhaps understand and then moving on, instead of speaking for 20 minutes and just repeating myself like a dementia patient. But look, I digress. Variety, Scott Garfield. The fight scenes feel relatively original. Relatively? Well, I mean, it's fucking David Leitch, he should be very original. It's kind of what you get with the man, which is impressive unto itself. Considering how many other creative filmmakers there are trying to distinguish themselves in the genre, Leitch tends to approach these standoffs the way Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire once did their dance numbers. The violence needn't be taken literally, which is tough at times considering how brutal the bloodshed can be, but rather appreciated mostly for their choreography and capacity to surprise. This guy is an ex-stunt choreographer. He knows choreography. Watch Atomic Blonde one-shot scene. Search it up if you haven't seen it. It is phenomenal. One woman taking out about 10 guys, 15 guys down a flight of stairs. And it's just stunning. This is what this guy brings. And again, he worked in the first John Wick movie with Chad Stahelski. Some of the best one-shot shooting stuff you'll see in movie. Just period film. So he knows what he's doing. This shouldn't be a surprise to these guys. Are supposed to be film critics, and they're impressed by David Leitch doing what David Leitch does. This is why I was excited about this movie. It's a train, assassins, and it's Leitch. Perfect match, man. The first time I read about this, I'm like, this is fucking perfection. This movie should be great. I watched the trailer and it sounded like Guy Ritchie, it looked like Guy Ritchie, it felt like Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels. The Gentleman. You mix that vibe with the aforementioned stuff, I'm in, man. It's my kind of movie. I will be in the theatre to see this movie, day 1, if not day 2. Ross Bonamy. Potentially French, I don't know, maybe Belgian. Has had this to say: the closest I can get to Belgian's a Carmelite triple beer. I've got Belgian in me, I've got Belgian ancestry, got everything in me. Us Europeans are complete mongrels, which is why the pathetic alt-right and right-wing movements in Europe that speak about superiority and indigenous peoples of Northwest Europe are complete gimps, idiots. We are not indigenous, we are all one. It's a nonsense. I'll get into that in a moment. Ross Bonamy. At its best though, Bullet Train is a game cast having a ball with this lunacy. In a film that is always barely skating by on the right side of stupid, Bullet Train is trying to make this story a more involved narrative about fate and luck that feels the need to tie everyone together with a bow. But really, it's at its best when it's just a bunch of celebrities attempting to kill each other and having fun little conversations in between. That's what I want, man. They say the reviews are mixed. They're not mixed. What's happening here is people getting into this movie with unrealistic expectations, looking for something that was never going to be there. They were looking for bigger, more poignant story. Maybe storytelling is the better word there. They were looking for something that was never going to be there. This was just about a guy, almost like Polar, with Mads Mikkelsen, trying to retire from the game potentially and getting sucked back in to the chaos. Violence, bodies flying all over the place, on a train, that's what you get. And the people who seem to have went in with this in mind, realising that's what they're getting, have enjoyed it. The people who didn't, maybe not enjoyed it so much. Atomic Blonde, I love that movie, so stylish and unique. This is what you get with Leitch, man. It's not Oscar bait and stuff. There's better movies out there, but you sit and you enjoy it, man. It's slick. That's what you get from his movies. I'm looking forward to this movie, man. I'm hoping it's a success. I like Brad Pitt. He was a bit of a pretty boy back in the day, but he's a brilliant actor. He's a cool guy off the screen as well. I'm glad he's still acting, because there was a point round about Ad Astra, roughly about 5 years ago, where he was talking about retiring, maybe even 3 years ago. He was talking about finishing as an actor and going off and doing something new. That'd have been a crime against humanity. He's a really charismatic, one of a kind, generational talent. Really eloquent speaker as well. So I'm glad to see this guy's back acting, and he's staying acting, it looks like, and doing different things like this. Not doing your Meet Joe Blacks, which was alright. not doing your romantic stuff, getting back into the sort of snitch, Guy Ritchie stuff, if that's what it was called, Snatch. Mr. Benamy there said exactly what I expect from this movie. Exactly, man. That's what you should go in looking for, and you'll not be disappointed. I'm positive you will not be disappointed. Marilyn Monroe estate defends Ana de Armas is the next topic. Why am I speaking about this? Well, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use my favourite word, conduit. I'm going to use this as a conduit to speak not only about this, but to speak about the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. Because I've been having a conversation with some misguided individuals in the comments section of our reaction to Rings of Power, the trailer. And these individuals, clearly passive racists, not happy they don't have an all-white cast in a Tolkien adaptation. And I'm going to go on a little rant potentially about this before I round the show up, about adaptations and what I keep sorting this mic because it's doing my nutting, and why it's an adaptation is an adaptation in a sense. The clue should be in the name. Adaptation. It's someone else's vision of a story. It may not align with your vision of a story, but then you can always go and make the story yourself if you're not fucking happy in your vision. If you've got the talent and you can get a studio to give you millions of dollars to make it happen. We're going to get into this. We'll bring this up. I can't understand this, man. Basically, you've got the same idiots online criticising Ana de Armas now for her portrayal as Marilyn Monroe. Norma Jean, I think that's what her name was. I didn't realise that. I don't know if that is her name. Saying that, yeah, she's not changed her accent. She's not speaking in breathy tones. This isn't the Marilyn we know and love. Cancel her. Boycott the movie. Dislike ratio on YouTube. Well, I'm going to get into it. The actual estate have defended it, and the reason I'm using this as a conduit as well, Tolkien estate. I'll get into it in a moment. Variety. Marilyn Monroe estate owner Mark Rosen, president of entertainment at Authentic Brands Group, offered a statement in response to the controversy over de Armas playing Marilyn Monroe. But Ana de Armas is a brilliant youngish actor. I think she's about the same age as me. Brilliant actor, coming to the peak of her abilities. Hot property in Hollywood, and she looks like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, look at her. She looks like Marilyn Monroe. And the more I say that, I struggle to say that name. Marilyn Monroe. She looks the absolute spitting image of her. What could be the issue here? Well, we'll get into that. He praises the casting based on what he saw in the trailer and recognises that de Armas has big shoes to fill with playing such a beloved icon, and a broken icon as well. The sort of perfect example of humans and what we're all about, with sometimes multiple facades, one for the public, one for the private, one for the internal, and how that can really impact on someone's mental health. They can go down slippery slopes. Marilyn certainly did, and it didn't end well for her. That's why this movie's looking like a captivating one. Maybe some fantasy in there, maybe fictionalised, but those type of figures are the best ones to do biopics about, because you can really get into it and give a real performance if you're a talented enough actress, and as I says, I think Ana de Armas is. Marilyn Monroe is a singular Hollywood and pop culture icon that transcends generations in history. Any actor that steps into that role knows they have big shoes to fill. Based on the trailer alone, it looks like Anna was a great casting choice, as she captures Marilyn's glamour, humanity and vulnerability. We can't wait to see the film in its entirety. Now, why we have people like this having to come out and defend this choice? Because she's still speaking with a slight Cuban accent, or she's not given breathy tones. She doesn't sound exactly like Marilyn Monroe spoke 50 years ago, or however long ago it was, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. It blows my mind. She's not Marilyn Monroe. It's an adaptation. She is an actor playing Monroe. She's given her own performance, her own take on the troubled star. That's what you do in an adaptation. It's a group of creatives' take on a story. They are delivering it. That's what to adapt means. If you want the original, go and fucking watch her movies from 70 years ago. Go and watch documentaries on her. If you want to see an adaptation, see someone's personalised creation in biopic form, watch the movie. Watch Ana de Armas speaking as Marilyn. Forget that it's a Cuban accent. Forget that she's not speaking in breathy tones like Marilyn did, apparently. And just fucking enjoy the movie. There is too many panty wetters in modern day life, permanently upset about everything. And in the case of Lord of the Rings of Power, which I'm about to get into, because this is kind of what I used this to get into. I didn't address it directly, but I'm going to address it now. There's too many racists in society coming out of the woodwork. There's too many right wings, not lunatics, figures in society coming out of the woodwork. There's too many political groups of right wing background moving further to the right, especially in Europe, and it's been normalised. And we should know better, because we lived through it in Europe with world wars because of right-wing lunatics. I don't like it, man. I don't like racists jumping on guys like Tolkien's work. John Walsh Tolkien wasn't a racist. He was a Roman Catholic who lived through the horrors, the horrors, if you like, of World War One. And when you've got people in our comment section saying the fans have spoken, they fucking haven't spoken, because misguided idiots who follow racists on YouTube have disliked a video does not mean that the Lord of the Ring fan base has spoken. This is a general sort of discussion I'm doing here, by the way, on sort of attempts to cancel actors, attempts to cancel projects, moaning about things because it doesn't fit your exact view on how it should be. In the Rings of Power's case, because there's black actors being cast as dwarfs, hobbits, elves, these characters are non-canonical characters supplemented into the story to make it a bit fatter, a bit more ambitious. They're working out of the appendices of The Lord of the Rings. They're giving us something different. It's an adaptation of the story. It's not Tolkien's version of the story exact. It is these showrunners and the actual creators from Amazon's version of the story. If you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. Why dislike videos? Why pursue things you don't like? It's going to make you an unhappy person in the end. I can't get my head around it. It confuses me. And I'm going to fucking go after every single person that comes into our comment section and have debates with them on it. I'm going to educate one person at a time. We're in 2022. It's not 1930. Get a fucking grip. And I'm going to end on this topic. It's like, oh, we're getting starting soon again. I'm going to end on this topic. We've not even got me now. There we go, I'm back. I went to a scene that I no longer use because we don't really do split screen now. Separate views on my shows. We used to sit at opposite ends of a table, me and Stephen, with separate cameras. Now I just sit in a corner with Stephen and split us up. And sometimes you'll see a phantom hand appearing in one of our shots. It's just to make us look a bit bigger and a bit more better. If you can make me look better, I don't know. I'm going to end on this. Very, very briefly discuss why this is never going to happen. Because it shouldn't happen. Because it's a stupid fucking idea, in a sense. But we'll briefly discuss Lawrence's quote, and then I'll dissect it very, very briefly before I round the show up. It's 12:05 here. It's fucking late. This is what Lawrence had to say about Solo, a Star Wars story, and a potential spin-off show, a potential sequel movie to Solo, a Star Wars story. He had this to say. Lawrence, incidentally, son of the late John, and I've put Lawrence Kasdan in there as well. I'm just obsessed. Lawrence doesn't say this, it's John Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan was the original Kasdan who wrote Han Solo so well in the likes of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. It's John Kasdan, his son, who's saying these things. He had this to say, no, there's not any talk of that. I've never been particularly drawn to expanding Solo into a show. Well, you fucking should, John, and I'll get into that in a moment as well. But I do talk to John. Is this This is Lawrence. Am I getting confused here? Because John Kasdan wrote the script and he worked with his father, Lawrence Kasdan. It is Lawrence Kasdan. I take it back. It's getting late. I take it back. John and Lawrence worked together. Father and son duo worked together, that's right. And Ron, obviously Ron Howard, who came on to direct it after a disaster of a production. where Phil Miller and Chris Miller and Phil Lord stepped away. Another set of names I always butcher, incidentally. Lord and Miller. I don't talk to him a lot about what went right and what went wrong with the solo experience. I do talk to him a lot about what went right and what went wrong with the solo experience. I would be more interested in doing another movie, not a TV series. Well, Lawrence, it is not going to happen. Because Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, who oversees the creative visions, the creative journey, the output, TV and movie format for Star Wars, says adamantly they will not be following any more recasted sort of characters in Star Wars. So that kind of puts the kibosh on that. We'll not get Solo. I presume we'll not get Aaron Eckhart. What's his name? Taron Egerton. Is that his name? No, it's not. It's not Taron Egerton. It's Alden Ehrenreich. That's the one. Such a memorable performance that I can't even remember his name. I remember Donald Glover. I remember Amelia Clarke, Paul Bettany. Even, what's his face that did Ray Parks, who did Darth Maul. But poor Alden Ehrenreich. An incredible name, but forgetful in every way. I presume we're not going to get him back as Solo. If she's coming out and saying we're not getting spin-offs, any more projects focusing on recasted versions of older characters, that kind of ends it. Stone dead. How much sway Lawrence Kasdan has at Lucasfilm, I don't know. To perhaps force it through, time would tell with that one. But I personally don't see there ever being a Solo movie coming out. I can't see any more a Star Wars story movies coming out. And for me, Star Wars has to move away from the Skywalker saga. It has to go off and explore new stories with new characters, different timelines, different part of the galaxy, something fresh, something different. Stand up and walk on your own 2 feet. Stop trying to build off the foundation that George Lucas gave us 40 years ago. Do something different, Disney. Have some fucking adventurousness. Have some ambition. Have some belief in yourself. Bring in brilliant writers like Lawrence Kasdan, directors like Taika Waititi. Do something different. Stop going back to the well and draining it dry. Having said that, I would like to see a TV show with Solo, which Lawrence doesn't want, and he's a writer with some influence, so that's probably not going to happen either. But a Solo, a Star Wars story TV show, I don't think it'd be called that, but a Solo TV show, I'd love to see it. That's the medium for it. Link it all in. We're getting a Lando TV show, Criminal Underworld Star Wars TV show with Kira, Amelia Clarke. Always great to see Amelia. Darth Maul, the Crimson Tide, I think it is. All of this stuff being balanced in multiple TV shows connecting into one TV universe. This is where Star Wars can excel for me. And the movies have been abominations in the main, one or two aside. TV stuff been much, much better. We're in a golden era of TV. Streaming services are booming. This is, for me, where Star Wars can really succeed. TV, or Solo could succeed. TV. It ain't going to make $1 billion at the box office, man. It just ain't. It's been proven with the last movie. And I didn't hate the last movie. I thought it was alright. But alright's not good enough for Star Wars. But with enough shit and merely alright Star Wars movies, we deserve better as Star Wars fans. There was an aura surrounding Star Wars as a brand when I was a kid growing up. You would see a Star Wars figurine or toy in the shop and you would think, wow, look at that. Now it's everywhere. They have destroyed it. They have to fight tooth and nail to get that aura back. And a Solo movie ain't going to do it. But man, let's go round it up. Let's go round up a show for tonight. We're now into 10 minutes past 12 AM and I've got to walk my dog. And I don't care. What's your thoughts on the topics I've discussed in the show tonight? What do you make about SS Rajamouli revealing that he was once interested in making a Prince of Persia movie, but that Disney beat him to the punch? That's what I'm looking for, the word I'm sure. Do you think with that movie being a disaster, if you even are aware of that movie, that opens the door for a potential reboot? Someone like Disney may be aware of Rajamouli's success with RRR. Could they employ this guy with a huge budget, $150, $200 million budget, and get him to remake Prince of Persia, or maybe even something else? Maybe it can be an Assassin's Creed movie. It could be any movie imaginable. Do you want to see SS Rajamouli making a Western movie? Do you want to see him making a Prince of Persia movie in the Indian subcontinent with all the great Indian talent we've got over there behind and in front of the camera, but it being released primarily as a Western movie or a worldwide release? That's what I'm saying. Do you want to see SS tackling something like this? Or do you believe that he should continue doing original stuff? Because he's kind of like Tarantino in that regard. He does his own original movies and it seems to work for him. Shout your thoughts down below if you've got anything to say about Rajamouli, about RRR. Fucking speak about RRR till I'm blue in the face. Love that movie. About this Assassin's Creed Prince of Persia stuff. Shout your thoughts down below about Bullet Train as well if you're intrigued about that. The early reviews mixed. I don't think they are mixed. I think that's a false title. It's just people going in looking for something that was never going to be there in the movie. What's your thoughts on Bullet Train? Thoughts on Marilyn Monroe? All of these idiots on social media, these backward folk, these racists, these aggressors, these little alt-right weirdos that hide in basements and who are deeply unhappy about life, continuing to attack everything that's different, everything that isn't pearly white. Share your thoughts down below about that. I'm sure I'd love to get involved in some chats with some of those folks. Lord knows I like to wind them up on YouTube a lot of the time. Thoughts on Solo Star Wars Story? Would you like to see a spin-off TV show or a sequel to the movie? Anything you feel compelled to share can go down below in the comments section. That's the place for it. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon on YouTube to get notifications straight to your eyeballs for live shows like this. We'll be back tomorrow, me and Stephen, I'm sure. You can also do the same thing over on Twitch for all of the same reasons. Follow button over there, notifications button over there will allow you to watch us on that platform. Don't know why you would, but look, I love Twitch, and if you're not on YouTube, that's the place to watch us if you want to see us over there. Also, a reminder that we are on Patreon, and I want to thank and continue to thank the patrons who support the channel, because we appreciate it tremendously. You're giving money to us for nothing in a sense. Well, not for nothing, we do a lot of work to be fair, and we do put early access content, watch along stuff on the channel a day before, so we want to thank them. We're going to continue thanking the people because we've not been doing it up until now, and those poor people are fucking supporting us, so we appreciate them. And finally, Parv in the chat, appreciate you tremendously, mate, for coming in and sharing your thoughts. Shadulini, Nono, everyone else that came into the chat and commented, thank you again, Parv, for donating. Very, very appreciated. And until next time, I'm going to end it by saying I'm done. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. If you didn't know about Patreon, I really don't have to do that spiel there. It's there right in front of you. Get early access on Patreon. There you go. Bye-bye.